Here's the landing page for the documentation. And today we'll go over exploring with the data API. So Willem touched on that for sure, just a bit there with the STAC catalog when he was exploring the data lab. And I guess I'll go into it a bit further right now, and I'll talk a little bit about S3 storage and the different kinds of data formats that are on the data lab. So just a standard opener slides about EDITO. I'm sure that most people have all seen and know what EDITO is about. But one of the key offers, I think, that we try to put out on the data side at least is the STAC API. So the STAC catalog that we have, the ARCO data, and then also the tools and processes that are being developed that you are all a part of developing actually. So just a bit about the data in EDITO. So as Willem talked about, it has the STAC catalog, which you see in integrate data. So there's like the STAC viewer, but it also has data storage on the S3 buckets. Now we don't have only cloud optimized data, but that was one of the that's one of the key features that we have and that we're offering in the EDITO data lake. I think is that the data offered in S3 object storage is very fast, and when we cloud optimize it, then we're offering a way that users can take just pieces of that data and integrate it into whatever kind of analyses they're doing. So just a little bit about the editor stack, but a little bit about STAC in general. Our stack right now, at least, it's just built with CMEM, so Copernicus, the Marine Data Store, and eModNet data are serving as the backbone, at least for this time. And then we're going into a second phase now. We're wanting to integrate more. The STAC API is an OGC standard. That was one of the main reasons for choosing it, is that that's universal. It's one that's not super niche to just Europe or just European projects. And there was a comment before about, I'm a biologist or whatever. Right now it looks like a lot of ocean things. The idea is that it can take data from multiple domains as well. And it allows you to search for data in time and space, and depending on what kind of other characteristic that you're looking for, to search it that way. But STAC was mainly developed to search for data, the kind of data that you're looking for based on a place and time. And that's one of the things that the STAC Search API offers. And it also has a way where you can access data in a standardized way in automated workflows, basically. So that's actually something, this is a side note that I can go into, but the processes are actually accessible via an API call as well. So you can manifest data just by making an API call in a standardized way. I included just spatio-temporal asset catalog, just a little bit more about STAC, but I would recommend more going into the link here and reading more about the STAC specification. It's really interesting, and many people are switching to it. So a little bit about the structure of it. So you can organize STAC in kind of many ways, but the API does, of course, have some standards. It needs to have standardized ways of organizing itself. So you have catalogs, which are sort of the high-level grouping. So you have all CMEMs data or all EDITO data in the catalog. We have, for example, eModNet catalog, and then you have collections inside them. So, and the way that the EDITO stack is organized is what we want to use for collections are standardized parameters so that a user can look for dissolved oxygen measured in this way, and that's the standardized parameter that they can look for. This is, of course, a tricky business to find standardized terms for everything, but this is the idea behind it. And that items in the STAC catalog, so inside the collections you have items, and these are pieces of continuous data in those collections. So I'm looking for dissolved oxygen in the Mediterranean Sea between 1990 and the year 2000. And then I will find the items that will offer me that kind of data. That's the idea behind it. And inside the items, you have assets, which is, we could say, the meat and potatoes of what you're interested in. The actual data. So ZAR, Parquet, GeoTIFF, CSV, whatever it is that you're interested in using. So we'll, of course, jump into the EDITO STAC viewer. I'll just give a little, so we'll follow the STAC structure right now. I'll give a little demo on that. So let's say we want to go through catalog, collection to an item that we are interested in finding a piece of data from the Eurobis database. So now we're in the STAC viewer that also Willem touched on a bit ago that he was here. So we'll go into the eModNet catalog. We'll go into the biodiversity catalog, and we'll look under the occurrence data collection. And then we'll see in the items that this one, being the only one right now in the occurrence data collection, is an item representing the Eurobis database with a choppy but a loading WMS tile. So the Eurobis item is defined by this metadata file. So in this XML, there's metadata that describes it. These are just a couple of the assets. What you see loading right now, that slowly is one of the WMS assets. But then there's also a Parquet file. And this is a snapshot of the Eurobis database at that time. And there's a link there where you can open it directly in the data lab. This is just a very, very basic beta viewer. But the idea is that it's like, okay, can verify that there's here Parquet. These are the columns that are inside it. Yeah, so that's how we can go from STAC viewer and just user interface into a piece of data we can use. And then I put a video in this GitHub. There's a link to it there. There's a snapshot of the Eurobis item for those that maybe stepped out during what I just did there for demo. But we can also search via the API. There's an API in EDITO. So here, that's the endpoint. And there's some documentation on EDITO on how to use it. So if you just go there, this is the landing page. And under this documentation, this is how the different ways that we can interact with the data API, which is a STAC API here, but it goes into what I've been talking about here. So the structure, catalogs, collections inside. This is how you can get collections. This is how you can get, so you can get a collection by its collection identifier. You can get items this way. There's also ways that I don't think it goes over here. Yeah, it just shows you in this documentation how you can get an item by its ID that you would find, for example, here. So you can find its item identifier. And it's like, okay, then I can pull it that way in my codes. But there's also ways where you can search for things based on time and geolocation as well. And we'll go into the ARCO data a bit more. So for people that are not yet familiar with the term ARCO, analysis ready and cloud optimized data, this is one of the formats that we're hard promoters of in EDITO. What we're predominantly using right now are the ZAR formats and Parquet, or as those standards are being worked on, GeoParquet and GeoZAR, as it's sometimes called, because there are many different ways of using ZAR. But the key is, they're very fast. They can be accessed at scale, and these kinds of formats are used a lot in machine learning and other modeling. So just a little bit about ZAR here. You can work with it in Python libraries. This is one that we're all fans of. So there's the ZAR library, and there's XRA, which is they do great work. They make it this kind of cloud format really accessible. And I have a link to the documentation here that you can check out and read more about that format. And then GeoParquet. So Parquet and GeoParquet. So of course, the GeoParquet is just a variant of the Apache Parquet format that I'm sure that many people know and use here, large columnar data. And then GeoParquet is, that plus geospatial metadata. So that different libraries such as GeoPandas, Dask GeoPandas, and other libraries recognize immediately, oh, okay, this is GeoParquet. And then my geometries are encoded in this way. And then I have links to the documentation as well in the presentation. And this is just a little snippet of codes on how you could do that in Python. It's of course very basic. It's best to go into the documentation before you start using it and counting on. So what Willem definitely wanted and had asked is that I use it in an example or whatever from EDITO. So we'll go into the STAC viewer. We'll find an ARCO dataset from, say, biodiverse. I'll just cherry pick the one that I used before from Aerobus. So I'll go into the items there. And then instead of opening it in the Data Explorer, I will copy the URL. And then, so I put the link here again. And this is a pre-configured service. So now maybe it takes a bit of a jump, but this is, so where Willem was before on the data lab in services, I have set up an RStudio called My EDITO Tutorial Test. This is also, this is just cloning the repository that I put in the chat. So you can see that here. And when I launch that, it will clone that repository. And then there will be an example inside where we can read that Parquet. There should be it. And username here. So I have in the Explore data here, I have a view Parquet, and I put an R markdown here. So run that. So I've already cheated here. I've put this in my tutorial. I've put that same link to the, sorry for the user interface. Wait, guys, no one can see this right now, can they? Okay. Oh, no, wait. So, sorry about the user interface. I am not an R programmer. This was for the case of the demonstration that I want to quickly make an R markdown where we could read this Parquet file. So this is just, but this is all in the tutorial, in that link that I put to the GitHub, so you can see the codes that I'm using and for sure criticize it. But this was basically a way that what we want to show is that you can go from the data viewer, you could go into an item, you can copy the link to a Parquet asset, and you can open the tutorial service that I pre-configured, and you can read the Aerobis database and explore it, filter it a little bit. Like I said, work in progress. Don't be too harsh with it, but yeah. Okay. About that. Oh, sorry about that. I lost my tab in a sea of tabs. So we were here. We went from the Explorer, copying this link, opening it in that service, and looking at the Parquet. And these are just some extra asides. If there's interest in how to query stack items via the API, a great one is PyStack. For Python users, that's you can use the PyStack client and treat the stack endpoint as a catalog, and then you can query the different collections, you can query the items, and you can query the different characteristics of those items. So the assets, for example, and you can get to the data that way. And then there's also, I've included some codes in the repository that I put in the link as well, a way that you can query the Stack API in R as well. And you can, yeah, you can also get to the assets that way. It uses, again, the Aerobis example. I beat that one to death a bit, but I think it's a popular data set in this space. So just a short recap. I hope that at least it's a little more clear of what the EDITO data API is, the kinds of data that we're using, where we're storing it, how to, go through a stack catalog, go through collections based on the parameter, items, and hopefully you can read Parquet or Zar a bit better as a result of that in Python or R. I'm mostly using Python, but I tried to give my best for R as well. Yeah, and then I also, of course, have links to the documentation here, contact information from MacArthur Ocean, if you ever have difficulties. Yeah, and enjoy exploring the data.